Is she white?
What? No.
So this is a sad story, but the truth will come out eventually. Former NBA guard Ben McLemore has been sentenced to 8 years in prison for grape, right? We're gonna hear we're gonna look at the little summary first before anything, and then we're gonna look at the court details. Well, the little of the court details I could get in a short period of time, which really explains what happened. Now, I believe he's really innocent, but unfortunately, he went in a court of law, and the simps in charge found him guilty. But like I said, the same thing with Tory Lanez, same thing with all of these people. Eventually, the truth will come out. Give it 2 years max. But let's look at the normies' summary of the situation. Okay.
Is in for the trial of a former Blazer accused of rape. Ben McLemore was found guilty on 3 counts, including rape. He was found not guilty on 1 count of second-degree sexual abuse. He was accused in an incident at an LO home dating back to October of 2021. He played for the Blazers during that 2021-22 season. He will be sentenced on Wednesday. Some chaos.
Okay, so we got the paperwork right here. Former Portland Trail Blazer Ben McLemore sentenced to 100 months in prison, which is obviously a little bit over 8 years. What's about? Yeah, 8 years and 3 months, right? In prison for grape and sexual abuse. Okay, so let's read what actually happened, right? And right here, let's read this. We're gonna read the whole. Yeah, let's read the whole thing right here. Former Portland Trail Blazer Ben McLemore was sentenced to 100 months in prison on Wednesday following his conviction for grape and other sex crimes. McLemore did not make a statement prior to being sentenced by Clackamas County presiding judge Michael C. Wetzel. A jury found McLemore guilty last week of grape in the first degree, unlawful sexual penetration in the first degree, and sexual abuse in the second degree, right? The grape occurred at a Lake Oswego party in October 2021. The victim, then 21, was heavily intoxicated and incapacitated when McLemore assaulted her. So that's the summary. But let's read more. Let's read more here. The victim addressed the court via video. She goes, "This has been the longest, almost 4 years of my life. I never imagined that reporting this back in 2021 would lead to such an incredible, difficult, and long journey," she said. "These last few years have often felt like a weight that I've had to drag behind me, a constant reminder of the trauma that I haven't been able to fully work through because there was no ending in sight." Well, maybe because you're lying, but that's a whole other story. She continues, "At the time of the assault, I had no idea who Mr. McLemore was."
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God, stop fucking lying.
Cap. When I found out, I questioned whether I should really move forward and report what had happened, especially given his status. So this is oh my God. Okay. So off rip. This is where's my boy? Let me put up my boy real quick. This is the nonsense that I'm talking about. This is the nonsense that I'm talking about. Especially when you talk about, this is how like I knew this was a white woman was involved with this one, right? They completely protected her identity, right? First, and then I look at the age, and then I saw the excuses, and then they said that she got incredibly intoxicated, right? So white girls are very notorious for doing this. This is what they do. The young white girls, they will find these parties, particularly white girls with money. They'll go to these spots that they know they're not supposed to go to. Now, she said that she didn't know who Ben McLemore was. Cap. That's cap. We all know that's cap. You went to an NBA player's house. This was Robert Covington's house party. You knew that was an NBA player. You knew potentially there were going to be other NBA players or professional athletes or people or men with clout there. That's why you were there. Stop it, please. Number two. Number two. This is what white women do. They'll do stuff like this. Go to these spots, get overly sexually aggressive. Let's keep it a buck. They'll get overly sexually aggressive. They go in there, start drinking like a muff. You know what I mean? Start telling people, I can take all of you on. This is we've seen this. let's not act like this don't happen. Getting drunk, get wasted, do whatever sexual act that they was going to do, whatever, and then once they wake up the next day, they act like they didn't know what they was doing last night. This is what white women do when they're in that position. This is how I knew this was a white girl, and plus this was Portland, Oregon. So this happened or around Portland, Oregon. Watch this. Let me take off my boy real quick. Pause. Here we go. Watch this. Let me read that part again. She said, at the time of the assault, I had no idea who Mr. McLemore was. I'm sorry. I gotta. It's just too much.
Cap.
Like, please stop. Anyways, she goes, this has been the longest, almost 4 years of my life. I've never imagined, at the time of the assault, I had no idea who Mr. McLemore was. When I found out, I questioned whether I should really move forward and report what had happened, especially given the status. I came forward to hold him accountable for the harm he caused, to ensure what happened to me never happens to anyone else. No one is above the law, no matter who they are or what position they hold, the victim said. Okay. Hopefully, the victim's strength and courage in this case will give others the fortitude to come forward in circumstances where sexual assault has occurred, said First Assistant District Attorney Scott Healy. Give others the fortitude to come forward when sexual assault has occurred. The sentence the defendant received today should serve as a reminder that this type of conduct will not be tolerated in our community. Yeah, this is a white girl. Hey, yo. Man, that's like, sorry. As soon as I saw, because I never even paid attention to that Ben McLemore case, but as soon as I knew, like when I saw, damn, he actually got sentenced, I'm like, bruh.
Is she white?
What? No.
Can she get the house?
Rochelle,
Is she white?
stop it.
Do you have a kid with her?
Is she white?
I'm sorry. I already knew. As soon as I said, I'm like, oh, he really got convicted of this. I'm like, what? She capping? Surely. Because I already know. I'm like, once I read the details, I'm already gonna know what's gonna what's happening with this case. Yeah, yo, man, this is hilarious. He goes, the sentence the defendant received today should serve as a reminder that this type of conduct will not be tolerated in our community, and that the Clackamas County DA's office will always work hard to hold offenders accountable and provide justice to victims, Healy said. Okay. Okay, what's his name? The First Assistant District Attorney, Scott Healy. All right, Mr. Lock Ninjas up. All right. The original media release from July 3rd, 2025. Okay, so we're gonna read what had actually happened. Okay, so this is from the court records, or the original media release, right? So this is a summary of what happened, according to the victim, right? And peep the missing information. But once you hear this summary, you're gonna know exactly what happened with this situation, right? The playbook is very limited, especially when it comes to women and them crying, wolf. Well, in this case, grape, right? They said these. Let's read from here, and I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. We'll zoom in on this just to make sure y'all know I'm not making this stuff up. Okay. They said the essay occurred, and when I say essay, you know what I mean right here, right? The actual assault occurred on October 3rd, 2021, after a party at the Lake Oswego home of Robert Covington, another former Trailblazer. Covington and McLemore were teammates at the time. Now, remember, the bitch said she didn't even know who McLemore was, but she definitely knew who Covington was. So for her to say, I didn't even know who McLemore was, stop. Please. Anyways, they said the victim had been drinking heavily and was hammered, unconscious, drunk that night. The prosecutor, Scott Healy, told the jurors. Now, watch this. This is what they said. It's the most alcohol the woman ever had to drink in her life, and the most intoxicated she's ever been.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God. Stop your fucking lying.
Now, this is cap. Oh my God. Because remember, the bitch was 21 at the time. the most alcohol the woman ever had to drink. You really had to say that? First of all, that's cap. We already know that's cap. Please. Anyway, they say the victim vomited earlier in the evening, and witnesses said she had difficulty walking, slurred speech, and could barely lift her head. Healy said, "This is what white women be doing. I'm telling you, especially you talking about just college girls in general. They always be getting hammered drunk amongst these dudes that they say that they're so scared of, and they're all predators, but they seem to always want to do drugs around these people. Blase, blah. But in this situation, she just wanted to get effed up and smash and possibly get sexually active with one of the NBA players, probably specifically Robert Covington, but she quote unquote settled for McLemore." Right? They go on to say the victim passed out on a large living room couch around 2 a.m. Sometime later, McLemore began sleeping on the same couch. Around 6 a.m., the victim regained partial consciousness when McLemore allegedly sexually penetrated her with his fingers, then began having sexual intercourse with her. Now, I'm sorry, they're leaving stuff out because they showed something with Robert Covington. Robert Covington came on the stand and said she was flirting with him first. She was the initiator when it came to her and Ben McLemore. And then on top of that, watch this. Later on, you're going to see that it wasn't just her, the 21-year-old at the time that was drunk. McLemore was also drunk at the time. You're going to see it later on in the paperwork, right? It says the victim was fading in and out of consciousness, frightened and traumatized. Healy said later that day she sought a specialized medical examination for victims of SA. The defendant needs to be held accountable for what he did. You can't do that to somebody, let alone somebody that you don't know either. Well, ma'am, you shouldn't be at people's house you don't know, but that's a whole other story. She goes, you don't do that to people and just be able to get away with it. I don't care who you are, the victim said during her trial's testimony. Right. Defense attorneys for McLemore disputed the victim's accounts of events. They claim she initiated sexual contact and consented to it, which I agree. I believe she did that. I believe she initiated the sexual contact, and it would be, and like I said, for him to get up to 8 years, right? That shows that if he had pled to a lesser charge, he probably could have been he could have been eligible for, he literally could have just spent like 2 or 3 months max if he had pled to a lesser charge, probably not even more than a year, and then say he was confused, I didn't know, blah blah blah, but I'll plead to a lesser charge. He literally could have been out like literally no more than 6 months in the pen, right? Had he pled to a lesser charge. So for him to even go and be like, look, I'm protesting my innocence, this is nonsense, this is how I know that this is cap, right? And then what people are gonna see, they're gonna be like, well, she didn't threaten him with a lawsuit. She said it wasn't about the money. That's because this is a young lady that has parents with money. Trust me, I know this. This is easy work for me. This is easy work. Watch this. I'm gonna show you something. Defense attorneys for McLemore disputed the victim's events. They claim she initiated sexual contact and consented to it. McLemore's attorneys asserted that although the victim and McLemore were both intoxicated, and at the time of the encounter, the victim was sober enough to consent. Right? So right here, that last part. They were both intoxicated, and at the time, the victim was sober enough to consent. But then the victim is saying that this happened really at 6 a.m. Nah, I already know what happened. Y'all was flirting up to the night. Y'all both spent the night on the couch. Y'all both was too drowsy drunk to really do anything with each other. And she was probably banging on his chest, no, you got to stay up. And he probably could barely fall asleep. Barely stay awake himself. But then eventually sexual relations happen. But the problem is when bitches wake up and then they regretted what they did, it is what it is. But this is what I'm going to say. This is what I believe would happen. I believe this is what I believe happened. I believe sexual relations happened, obviously, like I said there. But I believe one of her friends found out, or her parents found out she was at a party that she was not supposed to be at. That's what I believe. And when push came to shove, and one of her loved ones or her friends or her beta boyfriend found out she slept with an NBA player at the party, she had a choice to make. Could she accept the L and just be like, yep, I got caught sleeping with an NBA player? Or I can say I was drunk I didn't know what happened. I must have been raped. I'm telling you. And watch this. Give it 2 years max. Give it 2 years max, because he's gonna be in the holding. He's gonna be in the pen for a little bit before his innocence is proven. But obviously, it's gonna be too late. It's gonna be all up on his record. It can't leave his record. But it is what it is. Give it 2 years. Give it 2 years max. One of her friends is gonna spill the tea about what really happened, or one of her family members, or the beta boyfriend is gonna come forward and be like, and it didn't really happen that way. Something's gonna leak out. The truth eventually will leak out, and then I will have to come back here again. I'm gonna have to do a live stream, right? I'm gonna have to do this stuff again, and just prove that, hey, I already covered this already. I don't want to cover this again. But anyway, she's foul. She's foul for this. She's capping. I believe she consented to it. Yes, they were both drunk, but this is what I'll say too. Dudes need to understand. Remember, even if you're drunk, if she's drunk and you're drunk, you can't bend her over. If she says something happened, they're gonna just take her side. And especially when you're dealing with white women, this is the risk. This is the risk you're taking, especially when you're dealing with young white women, because she had, like, I bet you on everything she had a boyfriend at that time. She had a boyfriend or some dude on the side. But I believe whatever maybe her dude on the side found out, or her parents found out, she was gonna get in trouble because somebody found out she was at that party. She got faced drunk and slept with an NBA player, and somebody in her inner circle found out, and she had to play the "I didn't know what happened, he raped me" card. I'm telling you, this is what really happened. But like I said, eventually the truth will come out about this, and I'll be proven right yet again.